If your feet burn at night, if your toes feel numb, or if the floor suddenly feels like cotton, I need you to hear this clearly. The worst poison damaging nerves after 60 is often not a rare chemical. It is the repeated rise of sugar in your blood, meal after meal, year after year. Federal health agencies say up to half of people with diabetes develop peripheral neuropathy, and many more people with prediabetes already show early nerve damage before they ever get a formal diagnosis. That means nerve injury can start quietly, long before you are told something is wrong. And yes, there is something you can do about it. I'm Dr. Alina Serratia, and in this video, I want to give you a calm, honest, research-backed explanation of what is really happening inside your body. I'm not here to sell you a miracle powder or scare you into extremes. I'm here to help you protect your nerves with the kind of information I wish more adults heard earlier. Large medical centers and federal health agencies agree on a core point. High blood sugar is one of the leading drivers of nerve damage, and steady blood sugar control helps slow progression. That matters now because once nerves are badly injured, they heal very slowly. Here's what makes this topic so dangerous. Many people think neuropathy begins only after years of diagnosed diabetes. That is not true. Popular videos on this topic get one part right. Repeated sugar spikes matter, but many of them stop there, or they rush you toward a single supplement. Real life is more serious and more hopeful than that. Nerve damage can also be worsened by low vitamin B12, too much alcohol, smoking, kidney disease, thyroid problems, some medicines, chemotherapy, and even too much vitamin B6 from supplements. So the smart path is not panic. The smart path is learning the pattern, then acting early. And this is where many adults get trapped. They are told, your sugar is only a little high, or this is just what happens with age. But nerves do not care about comforting labels. They respond to biology. If your blood sugar spikes often, if circulation is poor, if your vitamins are low, or if a medicine is working against you, the nerve feels that stress, whether the lab report says diabetes, prediabetes, or something in between. That is why early symptoms deserve respect. A body whisper is much easier to handle than a body alarm. Let me explain it in simple words. Your nerves are like electrical wires running from your brain and spinal cord to your hands, feet, muscles, skin, and organs. Each wire needs two things to work well. It needs healthy insulation, and it needs a steady blood supply. When sugar runs high too often, it acts like sticky syrup. It clings to proteins, irritates tissues, and helps create oxidative stress, which is like rust forming inside delicate wiring. At the same time, it harms the tiny blood vessels that feed those nerves, so the wire gets less fuel and the insulation starts to fray. This is why the symptoms can feel so strange. One night you feel pins and needles. Another day you feel burning, then maybe numbness, then weakness, then balance problems. It is not random. Different nerve fibers are getting stressed in different ways. Some carry pain, some carry touch, some help muscles work, some help you sense where your feet are without looking down. When those signals get scrambled, your body feels confused. A harmless bedsheet can feel painful. A small cut can go unnoticed. A short walk can feel unsteady. And that is where this becomes more than discomfort. It becomes a safety issue. Have you ever wondered why neuropathy is often worse at night? It is partly because you are still, the world gets quiet, and your brain notices every signal more sharply. But it is also because the damage is already there, and quiet hours give it a stage. This is why waiting is risky. If you ignore early tingling, you may later face falls, foot sores, poor sleep, fear of walking, loss of confidence, and less independence. And here's another myth I want to clear up. Nerve pain pills can help some people feel better, and they absolutely have a place. But even trusted medical sources say they do not reverse the underlying nerve damage. Before I show you what to do, take a second to join our family of wellness seekers. Subscribe if you want simple, science-based health guidance for real life after 60. And tell me in the comments what country you're watching from. I always love seeing how far this community reaches. Stay with me because next I'm going to show you the overlooked daily routine that helps remove this poison from the picture. So what is the hidden truth? The goal is not to chase perfect numbers or starve yourself. The goal is to stop flooding your nerves with repeated sugar shocks. I call this the steady blood sugar approach. It is built on food order, meal balance, movement, and checking a few important medical blind spots. This matters because your nerves do not need punishment. They need calmer blood sugar, steadier circulation, and the raw materials to maintain their protective coating. Think of it like caring for a garden hose. If water pressure keeps surging and debris keeps scraping the inside, the hose weakens. Lower the stress, clear the flow, and the hose lasts longer. Research supports this direction. Federal diabetes guidance says high blood sugar and high blood fats from diabetes can damage both nerves and the tiny vessels that nourish them. A 2024 review of exercise trials in people with diabetic peripheral neuropathy found that exercise, especially aerobic activity, lowered average blood sugar, fasting sugar, and after-meal sugar. That matters because every smaller spike means less stress on the nerve. And regular walking is one of the simplest tools most people can use. It is not flashy, it is not expensive, but it works with your biology instead of against it. Now here is where it gets interesting. Many people want one magic supplement. Some videos push alpha lipoic acid as if it is the answer. The more careful evidence says it may help some people, but the best recent review suggests it likely has little or no meaningful effect for many patients over 6 months. That does not mean every supplement is useless. It means pills should never be the foundation. The foundation is lowering the daily poison load. Then, if needed, your clinician can decide whether you also need B12 replacement, pain control, physical therapy, or another treatment based on the actual cause. The first stage of nerve damage begins in your blood, long before your toes complain loudly. After a sugary breakfast, sweet drink, or a plate heavy in refined starch, glucose rises fast. Your body tries to move it out of the bloodstream, but repeated spikes become hard on the system. Over time, those spikes act like tiny chemical sandstorms. They rough up the lining of blood vessels and make proteins behave abnormally. Imagine pouring syrup into a delicate clock. The gears may still move for a while, but not smoothly. This is why people can have borderline sugar for years and still start feeling early tingling. What do you notice in this first stage? Often it is subtle. Maybe your feet feel hot at bedtime. Maybe socks feel strange. Maybe your legs feel tired after meals. Maybe you crave sweets, then crash. This is the stage where your best move is simple. Stop drinking sugar. No soda, juice, sweet tea, sweet coffee drinks, or dessert smoothies as daily habits. Liquid sugar hits fast because your body barely has to do any work to absorb it. If this sounds familiar, keep watching because the next stage is when the blood vessels feeding your nerves begin to suffer. The second stage is poor nourishment to the nerve. Your nerves need oxygen and nutrients every day, just like grass needs water. The vessels that feed nerves are tiny. Tiny vessels are fragile. When blood sugar and blood fats stay high too often, those vessels stiffen and narrow. That means the nerve is alive, but underfed. Think of a long country road after a storm. The road is still there, but supplies cannot get through well. This is one reason people with neuropathy may feel worse when they walk too long, stand too long, or try to balance in the dark. A 69-year-old retired teacher once described it to me this way: "My feet don't feel like mine after dinner." That is exactly how underfed nerves can behave. They go dull, then sharp, then dull again. At this stage, meal balance matters more than perfection. Instead of eating bread, cereal, crackers, or fruit alone, pair any starch with protein, fiber, and healthy fat. Eggs with toast, Greek yogurt with berries and nuts, chicken with beans and vegetables, fish with lentils and salad. When you do this, digestion slows down, sugar rises more gently, and the road to your nerves stays calmer. The third stage is damage to the nerve's coating. This coating is called myelin, but think of it as the plastic insulation around an electrical cord. When that insulation is healthy, messages travel smoothly. When it gets damaged, the signal leaks, flickers, or misfires. That is when burning, stabbing, buzzing, and electric shock feelings can show up. Vitamin B12 matters here because your body needs it for healthy nerve function and myelin support. Older adults are at higher risk for low B12, and metformin, a common medicine for diabetes and prediabetes, can lower B12 absorption over time. This is also why I want to give you a strong warning. More vitamins are not always better. High-dose vitamin B6 can itself cause neuropathy. Yes, the very supplement some people take for nerve health can make nerve symptoms worse if the dose is too high for too long. So please do not self-prescribe giant B-complex doses because someone online promised a cure. If you have numbness, burning, or balance trouble, ask your clinician to check your B12, review your supplements, and look for reversible causes. Repair work goes better when you stop adding new damage. The fourth stage is signal confusion in the muscles and joints. At this point, the problem is not only pain, it is position sense. Your feet help tell your brain where your body is in space. When that message gets weak, walking becomes less automatic. You may shuffle. You may grab furniture. You may avoid stairs. You may say, "I just don't trust my legs anymore." This is why neuropathy and falls go together so often. It is not weakness alone. It is missing information. It is like trying to walk across your garden at dusk when the path lights are flickering. And this is where movement becomes medicine. Not punishing exercise, not boot camp, just regular, safe movement that improves circulation, glucose control, and confidence. Mayo Clinic and Federal Diabetes Guidance both point to exercise and physical therapy as helpful for strength, balance, and blood sugar control. Start where you are. A 10-minute walk after meals is powerful. Chair marches count. Standing heel raises count. Gentle Tai Chi counts. Pool walking counts. A 72-year-old former bus driver went from avoiding the mailbox to walking after lunch and dinner every day for 8 weeks. Her burning did not vanish overnight, but her balance and stamina clearly improved. The fifth stage is when nerve damage starts changing daily life in visible ways. You stop noticing a pebble in your shoe, a blister forms, a sore heals slowly, sleep gets broken, mood drops, fear grows. This is why neuropathy is not only a foot issue. It can affect independence, confidence, sleep, and mental health. Federal Diabetes Guidance warns that loss of feeling can let injuries go unnoticed, and unnoticed injuries can turn into infections. So if you have diabetes or suspected neuropathy, daily foot checks are not a small thing. They are a form of prevention. Picture your nerves like smoke detectors in a house. In early damage, they become too sensitive and beep at steam from the kettle. In later damage, they may fail to sound when there is real danger. That is why some people feel severe pain, while others feel almost nothing and still have serious injury. A 66-year-old former carpenter once told me he did not realize he had a cut on his toe until he saw blood on the floor. That is the dangerous side of numbness. Pain is hard, but silence can be harder. When sensation fades, you need habits that replace what the nerve is no longer telling you. This is also the stage where medical follow-up becomes essential, not optional. If you have diabetes, federal guidance recommends regular foot checks and at least a yearly exam that looks at feeling, balance, and blood flow. That exam may sound simple, but it can catch trouble before it becomes an infection, a fall, or a hospital visit. Think of it like checking the roof before rainy season. Small cracks are easier to fix than a collapsed ceiling. Early care protects independence, and independence is the real goal. Now let me correct another gap I noticed in many high-view videos. They are right to focus on sugar, but they often make it sound as if every case of neuropathy after 60 comes from food alone. That is not true. Diabetes is the most common cause, but not the only one. Medical sources also point to alcohol, smoking, kidney disease, liver disease, thyroid disease, infections, autoimmune conditions, toxin exposure, chemotherapy, low B12, and excess B6. So, if your symptoms came on suddenly, affect one side more than the other, climb quickly, or come with major weakness, don't assume this is just senior tingling. Get medically checked. That brings me to safety, because this part matters just as much as the solution. Do not jump into long fasting windows if you use insulin or medicines that can cause low blood sugar unless your clinician guides you. Do not start intense walking if you have an open foot sore, severe balance loss, chest pain with exertion, or severe shortness of breath. Do not use alcohol to take the edge off nerve pain. Alcohol itself can damage nerves and also worsens sleep. And do not ignore rapid changes, such as sudden foot drop, sudden one-sided weakness, loss of bladder control, or fast-spreading numbness. Those need prompt medical attention. I also want you to be careful with supplements. Acetyl L-carnitine has some supportive research, but Mayo Clinic notes it can interact with warfarin and thyroid medicine, and it may not be right for people with seizure history or bipolar disorder. Alpha-lipoic acid can affect blood sugar and may upset the stomach or cause rash. High-dose B6 is a real neuropathy risk. If you are already taking several over-the-counter products, bring every bottle to your appointment. Treat your supplement shelf the way you would treat a medicine cabinet. Hidden problems often live there. And yes, I have to say this, even on a channel focused on adults over 60. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, do not start fasting plans or nerve-related supplements without direct medical advice. The same goes if you are underweight, recovering from surgery, dealing with an eating disorder history, or living with advanced kidney or liver disease. A good plan should lower risk, not add another layer of stress. Your body deserves steady support, not extreme experiments. One more caution before we get practical. If your neuropathy is sudden, rapidly worsening, or comes with marked weakness, weight loss, fever, new back pain, or bowel and bladder changes, this is not the time for a YouTube experiment. It is time for urgent medical care. Some causes of neuropathy need fast diagnosis. Others need blood tests, nerve studies, or medicine changes. I want natural support to work with proper care, not replace it. The safest plan is the one that uses both wisdom and evaluation. So how do you start in real life? Begin with breakfast tomorrow. Build the plate around protein first. Eggs, plain yogurt, cottage cheese, tofu, or leftover chicken all work. Then add fiber, such as berries, vegetables, or oats in a modest amount. Then add healthy fat, like nuts, seeds, avocado, or olive oil. If you eat bread, do not eat it alone. If you eat fruit, do not eat a large bowl on an empty stomach. This one shift changes the speed of absorption. It is like placing speed bumps on a road where cars used to race. At lunch and dinner, use the same pattern. Protein first, non-starchy vegetables next. Starch last, and keep it moderate. Eat slowly. If you can, take a 10-minute walk after the meal. Not an hour, not a power march. Just enough movement to help your muscles soak up some of that glucose. Research on exercise in diabetic neuropathy shows that regular aerobic movement can improve average glucose control in meaningful ways. That is important because lower average exposure means less chemical wear and tear on the nerves. Now add the second layer. Remove the silent sugar traps. Sweet drinks are obvious, but watch for large amounts of juice. Sweet coffee creamer, pastries at breakfast, crackers as snacks, and healthy bars loaded with syrup. Also, watch alcohol. If you have neuropathy, alcohol is not neutral. It can worsen nerve injury and make sleep and blood sugar harder to manage. Replace one snack a day with something steadier, like nuts, boiled eggs, hummus with vegetables, or plain yogurt. You are not trying to eat perfectly. You are trying to make the next spike smaller than the last one. The third layer is tracking. You do not need to become obsessed. You just need feedback. Write down when you feel burning, numbness, cramping, or balance trouble. Notice whether symptoms flare after certain meals. Check your feet every night. Look for blisters, redness, cuts, swelling, thick calluses, or new color changes. Ask your clinician whether you need tests for A1C, B12, thyroid function, kidney function, and medication review. If you take metformin, ask specifically about B12. Sometimes the body has been whispering the answer for a long time, and a simple lab test finally lets you hear it. What should you expect if you start today? Relief does not usually happen in one night. Nerves heal slowly, but many people notice early wins within a few weeks. Less after-dinner heaviness, fewer nighttime flares, better energy, more confidence walking, better sleep. Then, over a few months, some people notice less burning, steadier balance, and fewer scary surprises in their feet. A 71-year-old retired office manager once told me that after 3 months of food changes, walking after meals, and correcting low B12, the first gift was not less pain. It was better trust in her footing. That is important because progress is not always dramatic at first. Sometimes the first sign is simply that symptoms stop getting worse. That is still a win. Sometimes it means you catch a sore early because you started checking your feet. That is a win. Sometimes it means your blood sugar improves enough that your clinician can adjust the plan with you. That is a win too. Healing is not always loud. Sometimes it is a quiet return of stability. If you remember nothing else from today, remember this. The worst poison for your nerves after 60 is often chronic blood sugar toxicity, not a mysterious force you cannot influence. And the most powerful answer is not a miracle capsule. It is a steady daily routine that lowers sugar spikes, protects circulation, supports nerve nutrition, and helps you catch problems early. Your body is not broken beyond hope. Your nerves may be stressed, irritated, and underfed, but they are still responding to the choices you make every day. So here is my challenge to you. Starting today, cut the sweet drinks, pair your carbs with protein and fiber, walk for 10 minutes after meals when you can, and ask your clinician about B12 and other reversible causes if symptoms are already there. Then come back and tell me what you changed first. Type yes in the comments if this helped you. Like this video, share it with someone whose feet burn at night, and subscribe for more science-based guidance you can actually use. I'm Dr. Alina Serratia, and I want you to know this. Getting older does not mean giving up your nerves, your balance, or your independence.